Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Easy Learn. And today's topic is the cosine rule. And we're going to be doing some practice today. If you haven't watched my cosine rule explanation video yet, pause right here, check the link in the description below, go understand the concept first, and then come back for solving. So today's question is, as you can see, this is a triangle LMN, and within this triangle, there is another triangle that is LMO, and there are a few lengths and angles given. LN is 20 centimeter, LM is 6.5 centimeter, OM is 12 centimeter, and the entire L angle, or the angle NLM, is 49.5 degrees. The question is, find the length ON, and the B part says find angle LMN. Now, the angle LMN, this is the one that they're talking about. Whichever is in the center is the one that they're asking. Now, since this is kind of a straight line, it might make you feel, or you might assume, that this is a 90-degree triangle, but it is not, because these triangles are not made to scale. And if it was a 90-degree, it wouldn't really ask that find out the LMN. So this is not a 90-degree triangle. So moving on, the first part says find the length ON. So ON is this length right here. Now, as you can see, that this 12 centimeter is the length given for O to M. It's not for the entire thing, it's only OM. And for LM, we have 6.5, and this entire angle here is 49.5. It's the complete angle. It's not just for OLM, it's for the complete one, that is the bigger triangle, LNM, and LN is 20 centimeter. Now, if I want to solve for ON, the thing is I'm going to be finding out the entire length from N to M. Once I have that entire length from N to M, I can just remove the length from O to M, that is the 12 centimeter. I'm going to subtract from the entire NM the OM length, and that's going to give me this small length, that is the ON. So that's how you figure this whole thing out. So for that, for finding this entire length NM, the subtraction part from 12, it comes later once you have all your answers. But before that, you got to find the NM. And to find the NM, I'm going to be taking the bigger triangle, that is LMN. And as you can see, LN is 20 and LM is 6.5. And this entire triangle, the angle over here, this L, is 49.5, and NM is the one that I'm supposed to be finding. So I'm just labeling it as X. Now, as you can see, I have three lengths: length number one, length number two, and length number three, and I have one angle, which means that when I am dealing with three lengths and one angle, I use the cosine rule. The cosine rule says if you are finding the length, because in this particular question I have to find the NM, the entire length NM, that is X, that I've labeled as X. So to find the length, the formula is c squared equals a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cos c, or 2 times a times b times cos c. Now the important part is which one is your small c, which one is your capital C. Now your capital C always has to be the angle. Whatever angle you're taking has to be your C, the capital C, and the length that is right opposite to your capital C becomes your small c, and that is already missing. So NM is the length I gotta find. So I'm just gonna be rewriting everything inside this formula. So instead of c squared, I can just write x squared, or I'm just gonna be writing NM squared equals a squared plus b squared. Now I could take anything as my a and b. As long as I know what my c is, after that either I take 20 as a or 20 as b, or vice versa, doesn't matter. So I'm just going to be doing nm squared equals 20 squared plus 6.5 squared minus 2 times 20 times 6.5 times cos, and cos of the angle, that is 49.5. and just make sure that you put this into brackets because there's all plus and minuses, and then you have these multiplications, so it's just better to arrange it in a more appropriate way. So when you have all of this set, grab your scientific calculator and write stuff down. Now, if you want, you can do things separately. You can do first 20 squared plus 6.5 squared, then you can subtract the remaining part, and you can do any way you want. But I just like it to be in one place, so I just write everything down all at once. So first thing, you have to make sure your calculator is set on degrees, because whenever you're doing sine, cos, tan, you have to keep it on degrees unless and until the question says they want the answer in radians, the RAD, then you will select this one. Otherwise, it's always DEG, degrees. Once I have my degrees, then secondly, I'll be writing all of this down. Make sure you have these brackets intact. And also, if you wonder, how am I getting this 2 on the top? How do I write the square on a calculator? Once you click this x to the power of y, for example, I write my number 20. And if I click this x to the power of y, it's going to be showing this small empty box like that. And it will have a cursor. The cursor is going to be automatically placed on this box, and you can just click 2. So when you click 2, you will have a square on top. And if you have a physical calculator, then even there, there's this x to the power of something option on your physical calculator, and others might have it in a different way as well. Anyway, so when I have my 20 square plus 6.5 square minus 2 times 20 times 6.5 times cos 49.5, again, do not forget to keep it on degrees. Once I write down all of that, that's equal to 273.39 and so on, which means that my nm squared is equal to 273.3935. The reason I'm writing it, this whole thing, I'm taking almost 3 to 4 numbers after the decimal point, is because it's just I'm not still done with the question. I'm not done with finding out my solutions. So while you are solving things, so it's just always better to keep it to 3 to 4 decimal places so that you can get a more accurate answer in the end. And once you have everything done, then you can just round up to three significant figures or 1 or 2 decimal places. Now, since I gotta find my nm, I gotta take my square to the other side. I need to make nm the subject or isolate the nm, and for that I gotta take everything attached with the nm to the other side. So when square goes to the other side, it turns into square root. So square root of 373 and so on. Gotta check that on my calculator. As you can see, I wrote square root of 273.3935. That gives me a 16.53 and so on, which means my NM is equal to 16.5. Now again, coming back to the original question, NM is 16.5, but they're saying find ON. Now this entire thing is my NM, and if that is 16.5, I just gotta find this small length right here, and I already know that OM is 12, so I'm just gonna be removing 12 from the 16.5, and for that you just gotta subtract, so 16.5 minus 12. So if I do that, it's going to be giving me something like this. So 16.5 minus 12 gives me 4.5, which means that my ON is going to be equal to 4.5 centimeter. Therefore, part A solved. I got my ON. First thing, I'm taking my bigger triangle LMN, and from that, I'm trying to find the NM complete, the complete length, using the cosine rule. Once I get that, you gotta subtract the 12 in order to find this small part of the length. That is ON. Now, again, we already know that this ON was 4.5, and together this entire thing made 16.5. Now the next part says find the angle LMN, which means that the middle angle, that is the M, is the one that we gotta find. So let me just call it as X, or anything that you want. Now again, we are supposed to be finding the length. Now, if you look at it, I can again go ahead with my big triangle. That is the LMN. And for that, I know that NM, the complete length, is 16.5. I know that LM is 6.5. And I know that the LN is 20. And this is the angle that I gotta find. So again, when you have three lengths, and one angle, you use the cosine rule. But for this one, now that we're finding the angle, so the formula is going to be for the angle. Now, both the formulas are technically the same, but it's just a different arrangement. For finding the angle, the arrangement is something like this: cos C equals a squared plus b squared minus c squared over 2ab. Now, what do I take as my ab, or what do I take as my C? You just got to figure out what's your C. A and B just kind of come complementary. So C, the capital C, has to be whichever angle you are taking. So if I'm taking this capital M as my C, so the length that is right opposite to this capital C becomes my small c. That's the rule, that whatever angle I'm taking, the length that's right opposite to that becomes the small c, which means that if I just write cos, instead of c, I can just write cos m, because m is the angle that I'm finding. So cos m equals, now in place of my a, b, I just have 16.5 squared plus 6.5 squared. I could also do 6.5 squared plus 16.5 squared. Doesn't really matter. But the C really matters. C is important. C has to be 20. You can't take 16.5 as your C or 6.5 as your C. It has to be 20. And why does it have to be 20? Because the angle right opposite to that is my angle that I'm trying to find. So the one opposite to that becomes the length C. Now 16.5 plus 6.5 squared minus 20 squared divided by 2 times 6.5 times 16.5. The order doesn't really matter. You can write it in any order as long as you're getting the answer, as long as the whole thing is correct, it's fine. Okay, now on my scientific calculator, again, one thing that you have to be very careful about: if you want, you can solve the numerator separately and then write it down somewhere, and then just write the denominator separately and then write it down somewhere, and then divide it in the third or fourth step. You can do that. If that's convenient for you, go ahead. I just want my calculations to be done quicker, so I just put everything together on one single screen. So uh if you are doing this way, if you are putting everything all together, then it's important that the numerator part, you close it up into brackets. You'll write bracket open 6.5 squared plus 16.5 squared minus 20 squared, bracket close. This is an important step. If you miss this, I repeat, if you miss this, you are not getting the right answer. You will end up in a wrong answer, because if there are no brackets over here and over here, then when you divide, it's going to first do 20 square, and then it's going to divide it with 2. So it's going to give you 20 squared, that is probably 400, and that divided by 2, so it's just going to give you 200. But you don't have to do that. The calculator needs to know that first you got to add, then subtract, and then you got to divide. And before division, you got to multiply this stuff, and then the division has to take place. And the calculator won't just automatically know what you want. You got to give it some signals, some hints to figure that out. And the hints are that you got to put the brackets. So bracket open, all of this stuff, bracket close, then the division sign, then another bracket open, and then we have 2 times 6.5 times 16.5. This is how you go about your calculations. Again, be very careful. If this one confuses you, just do it separately. Do the numerator first, write down somewhere, then do the denominator, then write it down, and then divide the two answers. Moving on, when I do this, I'm getting something like this: negative 0. I'm just going to erase the extra marks there so that you can see properly. So the answer is negative 0.3986. Now again, since my question is still not over, it's not done yet, I'm going to be taking at least some 4 to 5 decimal places just so that my answer is kind of accurate. So cos m gives me negative 0.3986. Now, do not get worried about the fact that why do I have a negative. You don't really have to care about why it's a negative or a positive. The calculator, when you're going to end this question, the calculator is going to take care of the negative sign. So you don't have to worry about that. Now, I don't have to find cos m of something. I got to find my m, the angle m. And for that, I got to make m the subject or isolate the m. So which means that whatever is attached with the m goes to the other side. Now when cos goes to the other side, it turns into something like this: cos minus 1. That is called the cos inverse. So when you do cos inverse, So I'm just gonna write down cos m. Oops, I gotta write down m equals cos inverse of all the stuff, negative 0.39 and so on. So I'm just gonna write cos inverse of the answer. Which answer? This is the answer I'm talking about. So cos inverse of my answer is going to give me something like this. Now again, in order to do the cos inverse thing, first of all you got to make sure that your calculator is set on degrees. Secondly, you got to click I and V, or if you're using a physical calculator, you got to click shift, and after the shift you'll just press cos. So because of that shift, you'll already get cos minus 1. On a scientific calculator on Google, when you click I and V, you'll see these pop-ups: sine minus 1, cos minus 1, and tan minus 1. Just select cos minus 1. When you do that, we have arc cos of negative 0.98 and so on. The answer is 113.49, which I could just write it up as my angle M equals 113.5. I'm just going to round off to one decimal place. So my angle LMN is 113.5 degrees. That's pretty much how you solve it. You just gotta be careful when you're solving these questions, and you have to use cosine rule in them. Wherever the length formula is required, you use that. Whenever the angle is missing, you use the angle arrangement, and you just find out. Just put everything up in your calculator. Just make sure that your calculator is always set on degrees. Make sure you don't miss out on your brackets, and then you solve, and then you get your answers. That's pretty much it. If you have any questions, any confusions, drop them down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching Easy Learn, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Take care of yourselves. Until next time, see you.